the LPL.
I can't wait for them to not do it. Yeah, okay. I was going to say, right, LNG are going to ban that one away. Otherwise, OMG could totally have just left that one available. But actually, that does leave a lot of the best-in-class pickups up and available. They're actually not going to go towards any of those. Instead, it is going to be the Lilia grab. That does open up the Vi to be picked up right here. Now, potentially the Lilia, a bit of a takeaway here from Zhuo. We saw how good he was able to play on that one previously, but still, you are leaving a lot of very strong, aggressive early ticks available to you to try to use that moment where Heng's just going to be sort of sat in the jungle, trying to farm up. If you can abuse these lanes when the Lilia doesn't want to get involved, that's a great way to success.
Okay, so they show a couple of pretty powerful response champions, and they end up locking the Kalista in here for LP, so a very different type of AD carry compared to the next game. A lot of good pairings you look for with it. The Nico is a big one. I know the LPL is very fond of the Renata pairing. And they'll go with the Nico, so LNG going to lock in the bottom lane with a lot of those powerful junglers you were talking about still up. Gotta think maybe they're just comfortable picking at R3 knowing the Lilia is already taken.
Yeah, you're not particularly worried about having anything like that taken away, and you can give yourself a little bit more information at this point. I think also grabbing the Nico right here alongside that Kalista just gives you such a powerful bottom lane that really can try to push and abuse a bot lane when you're not wanting to get involved as Heng. Let's see what the pickup is going to be. It's going to be the Corki. Okay, so actually that does keep you a little bit safer, should keep you further away, and does a ton of damage in these later game team fights. This composition right now from OMG very much going to be looking to more survive through the early stages of the game, get themselves to those item breakpoints, then get involved on the map.
I would have liked the Xayah though, because it does kind of melee interrupt Pop Blossom with Featherstorm. That's a good safety net for the Xayah, but Corki is much more potent right now in the meta in general with how powerful of a marksman he is and the flexibility he brings towards the table. Renekton going to be blinded here for Hery, and as we expected, Zhuo gets his pick of very potent junglers. Vi and Skarner both up. Gotta think one of those two is going to lock in here for the LNG jungler.
Yeah, any of these junglers that skirmish early on, that can gank effectively in the early stages of the game, I'd be very happy with. The Vi is kind of the best one up and available for you right now, and if you can close this one out cleanly as a 2-0, you're not going to be too worried about not having any good junglers to look towards in the later games, in that game number 3. Moving on to the second round of bans, it's the early game focus we can see right here out of LNG. It's a much later game focus out of OMG. The Renekton kind of is that bridge where you can try to play around it in the early game, but also it just works very well at buying up space for Starry and Charlotte to be able to deal their damage later on.
Support pool really going to get pinched here for OMG. Moham in a tough spot. The Nautilus and Rell are already off the board. Gotta think this is a Leona ban, and then a potentially, we throw down Alistar again. You can take away, Rakan is always a good secondary engage tool for a Lilia. Point being here that Moham is going to be put in a pretty tough spot from this second phase of bans. The Poppy actually did deny some of those Dash champions. Still support-oriented bans here, so we'll see where Moham wants to go with a pairing for this Corki. If the Corki doesn't end up going mid, there's still some flexibility available for the OMG draft. A draft to remind everybody that really could decide their fate in 2025 with a potential 0-3 staring them down if they cannot find a win on Summoner's Rift here.
Exactly. Losing right here just is terrible for your chances of being able to move on and actually play in that split number 3. They're going to need themselves a very strong draft if they want any chance. Something that can kind of move past the fact they've had some issues around their team play. Really not helping that they're going to be playing into the Jace right here as well. You would expect that is going to be the top lane Jace for Zika. Could potentially move into the mid lane for Haichao if you want to move it around. Into the Renekton though has a perfectly good matchup and can just push that champion out of lane. Stop it from being that bastion early on. Gonna be the Lovers duo in the bottom lane for OMG. A pretty safe bot lane as well. Shouldn't be too abusable by LP and Zhuo, so I do like that.
Rise. So this is the big spot here, is that Haichao gets a counter pick. He's gonna go with the Rise.
Okay.
So you've got space and damage in your solo lanes, but this comp is a bit scattered, right? You're playing pretty early game oriented with your bottom lane and the Vi. And then you've got this Rise in your back pocket. You got this Jace. It's like you got some poke composition, you got some scaling, you got some early game threat. LNG are kind of at the buffet, just scooping up whatever they've got in front of them and slapping it on the plate. Just everything.
Oh yeah, you can see very much at the moment that LNG focusing on towards getting Haichao these more mobile carries who can move themselves around the map a lot, give themselves a lot of pressure elsewhere. The Rise has been a very interesting pickup recently, where we've been seeing some very good Rises, very proactive getting onto the rest of the map, and some Rises that kind of don't do anything, are very unable to use the ulti to any real use, get any impact out of it. We'll have to see what Haichao can do with this one, because like you said, the composition overall has a lot of early game power, does kind of fall off into the later stages of the game, need to be a little bit careful about that one. Still though, they've got tools over the majority of this game.
You got to remember, heralding back to Game 1 and how LNG have looked since Xiaofeng came in, and even against Ultra Prime, they have looked very proactive and confident in playing early game faster and really just into whatever style they draft. So despite the fact that they've kind of scattered maybe some of their other champion picks here, it's still LNG that feel favored going into this one. But on the other side of the coin, for OMG, they are 0-2, one game away from 0-3, a death sentence not only for Split 2, not only Group Nirvana, but potentially their 2025 season campaign. Everything is on the line, OMG. What do you got for us?
Yeah, let's see it. What can they do? Can they put themselves into that spot that they really have to be? Send us to a game number 3. Make it so they could at least fight on in Split 3. I don't know, Slayer, if they're going to be able to do it, but I really hope they can. It's always so sad to watch teams just falter and not be able to get their feet back under them. That's why this LNG story's been so exciting. Now that they've got Xiaofeng in and they're looking a lot better, it's such a good look for the team.
Maybe this is the game where we can sing those similar praises for OMG with Charlotte stepping in on this Corki into the mid lane as well. So we get a better look at some of these summoner choices coming across here. Pretty stock standard. Fans start coming across as well. No real deep wards, just some preliminary ones in both jungles. But as I say that, Heng and Hery looking to push in towards this topside jungle and looks like potentially force a vertical jungle here.
Yeah, interesting. It does very much look like they're going to try to play towards the top side of the map right here, are OMG. That makes sense, right? You aren't really going to be wanting to gank onto this bottom lane particularly. You've picked the Lovers Duo right here to be useful in the team fights, not necessarily to win this lane. The kind of lanes you can try to play around are very much going to be this mid lane, and more than that, the top lane. In fact... Huh?
Yeah,
goes chicken to chicken. Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if the decision here... No, because you've been spotted. I was going to say, maybe the decision here is you take the chickens and then feint like you're going towards the rest of the topside jungle, like it's going to be vertical jungling, and try to catch out Xiaofeng when he tries to play the map down in the bottom side. But because you walked straight through mid lane very obviously, it might be that you just get yourself a one camp advantage right here. You do clear so much faster than the Vi is going to be able to, and a one camp advantage, whilst not the biggest advantage ever, it's still something.
And it is what Lilia wants to be very proficient in the early phase.
Wait.
Really think about power farming, but Heng has skipped his red buff, and I mean, is this just a gift-wrapped red buff for Xiaofeng as he reads this perfectly? This is so odd.
Huh.
Even Xiaofeng's surprised. He's like, wait a minute, this is here?
Nah, this is bait.
He's like,
yeah,
hold on,
he
hold
can
on, hold on.
feel that this is bait somehow, but it isn't. Buddy, that's yours. Yeah, he's so scared right now.
It's like, where are they hiding? Like,
he's like, there ain't no way that I've just been given this one at the moment, because you've got the bot lane being pushed in right now, so you're actually in a pretty safe spot overall. You can see that mid lane's got a little bit of push in your favor as well, so you're overall safe, but you don't feel safe because there's no way this is what should be happening right now. And now Xiaofeng going to make the exact right decision right here.
I gotta check my red buff.
Yeah, book it up to his red, and he's going to find that it's still there. This is what could have been good, interesting pathing right here from Heng. If you just go steal the chickens and then take everything else in your map, you get yourself one camp advantage. That's pretty good overall. Oh, LP has to flash, okay.
Good grand entrance from Moham, gets the flash out of LP. The root does come across, so Moham takes a bit of a licking themselves, but the ever-mobile Kalista is going to be down that early flash, just like game number 1 for LP. Is The Heng Chronicles continue as he's now just chilling in enemy jungle, trying to be a bit of a nuisance into Haichao. Guess he's trying to play around that second spawn of chickens, but Xiaofeng is not willing to give up twice on the menu. But are you willing to fight over it is Heng's question, as he's really just trying to aura check this guy. He steals away the crowd. He does not. Yeah,
no.
Xiaofeng finds it.
Oh,
Flash
no.
ball breakers onto Charlotte, who is one out away from falling, but he walks on out of there. Xiaofeng gets a big shield. Can Heng find the trade? It's Pandemonium, but it's Haichao that needs to find these trade kills. Flashes after Heng, finds the first one, and Charlotte is just too far away. A wacky jungle start, and both of them end up dropping for the first 2 kills of the game.
Group Nirvana, baby. That's what we get in this group right here. Oh boy, MOBA Trainer would not know what to do with this one. I mean, I barely know what to do with this one. There's good decisions, bad decisions, and then there's whatever this is right now. I'm very surprised that that sort of almost worked out right there for OMG. You've actually got yourself a small CS advantage. Was able to steal away a couple of the smaller chickens. I think Xiaofeng was actually able to grab the big raptor though. But it was a couple of missed skill shots right there out of Haichao that was keeping Heng alive far too long in that play. Should have died way earlier on in that play. Instead is able to get that trade kill back, and we'll have a look back at this one. So, Xiaofeng gets the smite onto the big chicken.
It's level 4.
Is in a good spot and gets that flash play right here. Charlotte should be dead to rights at this point. I actually don't know why Haichao doesn't flash forward to go try play around Charlotte. You can see that they're not going to have any friends. The Renekton's in the top lane, right? You're fine. If he flashes forwards to go pick that kill up onto Charlotte, you can then turn alongside Xiaofeng and just pick yourself up that kill. I think that was just a little bit too respectful from Haichao.
Hery popping the Dominus. Renekton wants to brawl in that form, but Zika does a good job pushing him back, getting some grass stacks, and surviving the first Renekton escapade. I was going to say the one advantage of Haichao's win there was that he actually gets a kill to get some double buffs, and Charlotte only got an assist, so that does give Rise a lot more space, and it's turned into a significant CS lead. I mean, Haichao is up a couple of camps, and is looking to help his top laner, who is going to be dove by Heng, who does not have Wilton Lullaby.
Nice
the
Realm
Warp taken in for Haichao, but I feel like if he just stood where he was, he would have cut off their one escape route, so he gives it to them.
Yeah, instead you kind of just use that Realm Warp as a little bit of a defensive tool. You have a couple of members up in the top side. Still, it stops a play from going down. Hang on, bot lane, they're going to be fighting here. Okay, all good, all good. And you are going to be able to pick up that Drake. That's the main thing right here. Xiaofeng's able to pick up that Drake. The trade back is going to be these grubs. 3 grubs going over right here to OMG. They want them. Heng right now, he does not want to allow Xiaofeng to get any of these chickens.
Yo, are these things made of gold? I mean, why are we fighting so tensely over chickens? All right, well, Heng, you stole all the little ones again, and you're going to give Xiaofeng the big one. Who would have thought the big storyline, knowing everything this series has in store for both these squads, and we're just all focused on goddamn red side Raptors.
I think they must be made of gold and diamonds and, I don't know, extra tasty right now are the chickens on this one. And once again, gonna move into this mid lane. He has made the walk through that little corridor between the river and the red side chickens like 4 times at this point. Every single time, Haichao just kind of steps back, watches him walk on by, gives the information to the team. Yeah, by the way, Heng's back in the mid lane. No, it's not a gank or anything, he's just here. And then everybody moves on. Genuinely baffling in terms of this map movement at the moment, but it hasn't exactly resulted in any big deficits at the moment. And to be fair, baffling your opponents out of playing their early game composition effectively when you have the late game scaling on your side could be effective.
It's a strat.
You know? It's a strat I haven't seen before, but at this point in Group Nirvana, when you are literally scrapping for your lives for the rest of the year, yeah, try anything.
Throw anything at the wall and hope something sticks. That is the old adage. See if the productivity for LNG gets a lot more potent now that they've got some ultimates online, right? We're really relying on Zhuo with this Pop Blossom that's come along. Xiaofeng now has the cease and desist to try and target either one of these 2 marksmen. So despite all the hectic chaos caused by Heng and his jungle pathing, this is where we feel like LNG's comp is going to be most potent.
Yeah, but they haven't really been able to use any of this early game power particularly effectively, right? You pick the Jace as a counter into the Renekton, but you're dead even on CS. No kills going down there. No jungle intervention has ended up happening. Mid lane, decent CS lead right now for the members of LNG. Bot lane, small CS lead, but in the jungle you're losing out massively. Despite the fact the pathing's been a little bit odd from Heng, he's still got himself a good chunk in the advantage. And so it doesn't really feel like LNG have been able to effectively use this composition throughout the early game. Something we were so very praising of Zhaofeng for in the first game was the fact that he was able to gank super effectively and be proactive. In this one, very much not the case so far. Zika, he's okay, but he does lose his flash there, and that's going to be on a longer cooldown than the Dominus.
So Hery gets to buy more space to try and build up a bit of a CS lead, but you're right, we're still waiting on LNG to really start cracking some of these fireworks. Yeah. Especially Zhuo and Zhaofeng, who's going to get his full clear done here and look out onto a map that doesn't have a lot to play for, even on the neutrals, right, where you've got second Drake and second set of grubs spawning at a relatively the same time, and if you're LNG, no matter what comp you're staring at on the other side, in the LPL, it is a death sentence to give away 6 grubs, so I see a lot of proactivity on that side of the map from them.
LNG, they cannot afford to do that, and you can see at the moment they've got a couple members in the area. Still a minute until that was going to pop up. Heng might get caught right here. Oh,
this time the Flash Vault Breaker does not find the interrupt. The Zika still comes across. Heng's going to have to flash Lilting Lullaby, but Haichao with the Rune Prism is going to chase him down, and Zhaofeng expertly uses the Blast Code to get himself out. It wasn't clean, it wasn't pretty, but the goal is accomplished for the LNG jungler.
Come on. Come on, LPL observers, I believe in you. I believe in your ability to find that as a cinematic, to really give us the ultra slow motion of that one being missed. We're now going to watch the top laners scrap a little bit, and actually Reset having to come through from Zhaofeng right before these grubs.
That's a pesky minion.
Yeah. I mean, as Hery, when the caster minion sprints at you from River, you're not exactly going to be surprised as to what pops out. Zhuo is in the area, though, which is the main thing. It's going to be 20 seconds now until the grubs are going to spawn. Zhaofeng had to go back to base, now does have that first completed item, so it's going to be in a very strong position. Let's see if they're going to be able to win this fight and get themselves the 3 grubs. You need to even it up here.
Both junglers not going to have their ultimates for this fight, and that is a pretty pivotal point for LNG, so you can see how much attention they're paying to getting vision first, getting first setup. They've even brought up Haichao from this bottom side. So while, you know, we talked about this last game, right? OMG, they're not confident just trading away grubs. They're going to trade away a bot tier 1 turret to teleport in Charlotte for this fight, but the fight's already starting. And they've already got Heng so very low. The Fate's Call is going to pull Zhuo out, but the same fate will not be found for Haichao. Way too far forward, picked off, and now LNG have no confidence team fighting their way out of this one.
No, I was really surprised that we saw OMG bring Charlotte up for this play, but clearly they knew Haichao was going to get mind control, jumps way too far into the backline, after Zhao does exactly what he needed to at the beginning of that fight. But OMG, they weather the storm, they're going to be able to pick themselves up 5 of these grubs right here, exactly what this composition needs. It's going to delay the game a little bit as well, stop this early game this early game LNG composition from being able to get as far ahead, and you're even going to be able to get back onto the map and reset for this Drake. Now let's have a look, right? I was not watching what Haichao was doing. I was too busy watching Zhuo. He just
Haichao's going to die here with Flash and Realm Warp up, by the way. So both those things are out.
I thought, when I saw him in that position, I was like, he's Realm Warped into the backline accidentally. He just walks at a Renekton.
And a Rakan with Charm.
Yeah. So that one went about as you would expect. And that
I don't think MOBA Trainer would like that on the positional task.
No. I think MOBA Trainer would call that a bad decision right there. And yeah, dying with Flash Realm Warp up, just not ideal. Didn't even try pop it. Clearly didn't expect to be able to actually get away with that one. Still, next Drake is going to be up and available right here. LNG, they have got the fast track towards the pit, but Heng is in the area if somebody wants to start this one up. For the minute, looks like team's just going to try to establish themselves a little bit of control on these waves, and then move your way on down. Still, LNG, they are here first.
Do have some first item differences, mainly Charlotte, who might get jumped on here, playing a bit wary. Seems like Xiaofeng wasn't committed to the engage at first, but now he's going to go for it even after Charlotte flashes back under the turret. Now Xiaofeng, the Realm Warp, will end up saving him through the Lilting Lullaby. Does not find its mark. And we flash back towards the top side on the other side of the town known as Summoner's Rift, where Hery going blow for blow with Zika. Just so darn tanky. Even with Dominus up, won't fall. We go back towards the bottom river, though. And this dragon count's going to be evened up for OMG.
You'd have to imagine LNG would have to really throw quite a lot away to try to get involved in that pit.
Cleanse out.
LP, yeah, loses the cleanse, is at least going to be able to survive this Drake. Actually isn't falling that fast. Oh, no.
Guys, we can. Okay, well, Pop Blossom's onto 2. The heal comes across. There is enough burst damage here, though, because Haichao and Xiaofeng, they didn't want any pit of this engage. They were not about it, and the desync that we've known from LNG of many games in series past is starting to rear its ugly head.
Yeah, this is the problem, OMG. When they do make snap decisions, they're often not the right call. They also freeze up around objectives quite often. And you manage to force the LNG members out from around this pit. You get the Realm Warp out, make Haichao use that one defensively. You should immediately be starting up that Drake with as many members as possible. Or counting your blessings, taking full resets, and then coming back to fight with a little bit of an item advantage potentially. Instead, they slowly attempt to take the Drake, don't even manage to do so, and the Drake is actually going to survive, so we may well just get to see this all happen again.
Definitely some head-scratching hesitancy from both these teams. Not as clean of a game so far, and it's left us in a pretty even state here. I don't expect to see much more brawling coming across. There aren't a ton of engage ultimates. Pop Blossom, Cease Assist aren't going to be available for LNG. But they are sending Xiaofeng back towards the bot side to clear some of his camps. And they obviously still have the ongoing wave of battles between bot and mid lane. Pretty stalemate. So looking to see where someone wants to break this open. And Xiaofeng actually going to skip camps, go immediately on this dragon, and get spotted trying to take it. Heng is sprinting on over as pings galore come down towards this bot river. But yeah, LNG are late to the party. A dragon that we felt like was free for them 30 seconds ago goes the way of LNG.
This is the thing, right? When you're playing into the Callista, you cannot afford to be late to these objectives. Once you get all of those spears in, it's going to be so very easy to just rend that one away. Pick it up. Multiple TPs coming down right here. They're going to go for Charlotte.
Okay, and Charlotte's out. So, what did Zika teleport for? That's my question for MOBA Trainer.
What? Slayer. What is this?
Group Nirvana, baby! Woo! They got a turret. All right, they get first turret
power.
Actually.
You are most likely going to be trading this one back topside. There's no flashes. You are at least going to be able to pick up a kill here. There you go. Okay.
Jungle is not safe, Moham. I don't care how close you are to a tier 2 turret.
Yeah, they are going to trade this one back for the tier 1 top side for Hery. Heng also going to be able to grab himself this Herald, but the kill and the tier 2 in the bottom lane is at least something. The gold now going to be a slight advantage right here for LNG, but I got to be honest, neither of these teams feel like they've been playing this one out cleanly. This has been one of the oddest early to mid games I've watched in a while.
And even, so yeah, to add to that, right, the first feats of strength to go down in this game was first turret.
Yeah.
And then LNG get that pick, so they actually get tier 2 boots.
Yeah.
They went out on the gold front by taking a tier 2 turret at 17 minutes. We'll see if the Rift Herald for Heng could get much more back here for OMG, but this was part of the problem that compounded in game 1 was losing early turrets and priority lanes and kind of losing control of their jungle as we get a look back at the hijinks of Xiaofeng.
So that one, not ideal. It's the next moment, right, where you manage to get yourself the pick right here. Yeah, Moham, you can't... Moham and Starry, but Starry makes the realization happen of like, oh no, I should not be here. Walks away from that one. Actually, we're going to get action topside.
Heng flashing for the double ult and lullaby. There's not a top tier 1 turret to protect them, but LNG have more members here. Hery trying to rely on that dominance. Stasis comes out for Hery, but nice, in goes Moham with the double charm. The Realm Warp again is the bailout for LNG, but this time it costs them their top laner as they scatter to the wayside.
This is what I don't want to be seeing out of Rises. You want to be proactive with this Realm Warp, not constantly having to use it as a defensive tool. once again having to just run away. And OMG, they're actually fighting into this game a lot better. They're still down a decent chunk of gold. They're going to lose some decent damage off of this mid lane tier 2 as well, but they're being slightly more proactive. Some of it's misguided, but at least they're doing something on the map. That's something we cannot say for them in that first game.
Good improvements, knowing what the stakes are for OMG. Hery is playing like a man that does not want to spend his summer watching the LPL.
No.
But playing in it. And that's what you like to see. They still don't have the gold lead, but keep this improved proactivity for OMG, especially knowing that they do win out on the scale wars if this game goes long.
Trying to get themselves to this point at the moment feels a little bit risky. Charlotte has been the object of a lot of ire so far in this game. Once again,
escaped every time.
Indeed, Xiaofeng has not been able to get himself any of these kills.
Oh, do not go under that turret, please.
No.
Right.
You have lots of friends in the area, but Moham is also hanging around right now. He's doing a very good job at the moment, actually, of bouncing between this top and bot side. Charlotte, don't check that brush. Don't face check it. With a ward. With anything but your face. Please.
All
no.
Right.
Okay, he's fine.
He's fine. Doesn't have enough damage on his own.
Xiaofeng does
flash up.
Barely any damage at this point, unfortunately. One item completed, got a faded, a ruby crystal as well. Not going to be able to just one-tap anybody in front of you right now. And Charlotte, despite the fact that you really should not have face-checked that brush, is going to be able to stay alive, keep absorbing these waves. And actually, he's been doing a decent job of keeping up. Is a little bit behind in terms of CS, but it's Haichao's kills that have really opened up that advantage you can see in that lane. Now that is going to be 2 items completed right here onto the Rise. This Rise build with the Roa and the Seraphs, it comes online pretty late into the game, right? You're still a little while away from this really coming online. At the point at which it does, though, this Rise will be hitting like an absolute truck.
Yeah, I will say, you know, for 2 items that are fully scale-based in their kit, he's got the Seraph stun, and the Roa just ticked over to 10 stacks.
Did it,
so Haichao, it's not going to have the big damage yet. He's got to wait for, you know, the pure AP item, but Haichao is very far ahead of schedule, and that's going to be big knowing that this Kalista, this Nico, this Vi are going to start losing value. Almost, they're going to lose as much value as that Rift Herald play might have been from OMG.
Yeah, I mean, that Rift Herald play, right, was picked up whilst we saw all of the faffing happening in the bottom lane, and you get a tickle of damage onto this mid lane tower with it. Really nothing too much. Both teams, though, might be hankering for a bit of a fight. Hery.
Oh, Hery caught off to the side. Pops ominous flashes away from Xiaofeng and Zika. We're trying to chase down the angry Croc, who's going to be made into a pair of nice shoes. Hery goes down, and that might lock in LNG, getting Cloud Soul set up as well. Just 22 minutes into this one.
And this is just looking like it's going to be a 2-0 again. Despite the fact that this early game was slightly better for OMG, they just haven't been able to put it together, you know. They're putting themselves in bad situations constantly. The Herald play that you just get absolutely nothing for. You put Charlotte topside before the TP's fully come back up. You can see that has only just now popped back up. So you're just slow with members, and yeah, Hery, like you said, on a ward, just going to get caught out right here, and that is going to be a Vault Breaker. Cease and desist. Pops right here, Hery just going to go down, and it's not been a clean game, right? It's not been the sort of game we were hoping for from LNG, where we could really praise massively onto Xiaofeng. Still, they've done what they needed to do in the early stages of this game. They've got themselves a 2k lead, 3 Drakes in their back pocket. The only thing that went wrong were the plays around those grubs, but so far, there's barely been any tower damage laid down by OMG anyway, so it hasn't even mattered too much.
The good thing for this comp is, you know, we talk about, you know, damage numbers falling off and such, but we talk about Vi and Nico, their ability to find picks and start fights is still going to be ever present. So just be talking about setting up, you know, Haichao more than other members that you might have drafted this comp for. And if we know this new look LNG is good for anything of recent, it's been their confidence and poise in team fighting stages. Is they're going to make a pretty gutsy call here and start up the voracious Otacon. Well, how much space can you buy here? Just poking and prodding LMGs. They try and
Hery,
rumble up
to
towards the top side. But with Kalista and Smite, Zhuo says, all right, I just want the Voracious Otacon. Maybe I won't die before it goes down. There is the revive buff secured. The OMG now just have to mop up some free gold, but they're not going to get away with it as a big-time Fate's Call comes across, and Zika gets to reap the rewards of LNG. Grabs himself a multi-kill. Hery's going to go down next. LNG are looking for the killing blow on OMG season. One more kill onto Moham's going to do it. Ace home. LNG's wrestle control of game 2.
There we go, after a very quiet early game from Zika, turns it on in this team fight. They're also able to pick themselves up the Atachan, like you said, with the revives in the back pocket. It doesn't even matter if you lose that fight, something they do not. But I think the real MVP of this fight is going to be Zhuo. Right at the start of this one, jumping forwards with the Pop Blossom, buys time, then gets pulled in with the Fate Sealed, just to be able to keep himself alive as well for that little bit longer. And it's just a great fight overall. You can see Zika in and amongst all of the members, dealing so much damage at this point. And this is where the Jace can really shine, right? Sure, you can do a lot of damage with those accelerated shock blasts from further away, but once you can get into melee range, not really worry about getting bursted by anybody on the other team, that's when you can deal that real top-of-the-line damage.
And Haichao doesn't panic. He just plays front to back as the Rise wants to. That's the team fighting LNG have been more accustomed to since Xiaofeng has joined the roster. Got a pretty sweet double knockback on that vault breakdown.
Yeah, that was nice.
Well, and now this game feels completely out of the hands of OMG as they try and find ways to contest these big neutrals, but they are staring down a potential Baron call that has been sounded. Spotted as well, but hello, we flashed up topside, and this Kalista with Smite. I mean, this Baron's gone. Zhuo's going right back to stall duty once more as he still has his revive. So Zhuo drops, but Xiaofeng says, I'm going in. I'm flying for the hills. I want the glory, and it's going to fall flat on his nose. Hery keeps enough of a line. They get Haichao cut down as well. It's Zika and LP. Zika dives himself back in, but the stasis is clutch from Heng. He'll survive as well. OMG are not getting pushed over this time. They're trying to make a fight back in this one.
But see, despite the fact they kind of win that fight, you still had a ton of the revives available for LNG. When you die, you don't lose that Baron buff either. LP trying so hard to be able to pick himself up. Another kill right here. Is going to be able to get in range using the minions of the wave to dash just a little bit closer. Get himself that rend off. That's going to be the kill onto Moham. And that's a big part of the engage for OMG just gone. With the Baron buff available, picked up just during the absolute mess that was that previous team fight. They're now going to be looking to crack open the base right here of OMG. And hopefully shut them out of being able to play in split number 3.
I forgot how fun Voracious Opticon is. I kind of lost track of who got rezzed on that original fight, so yeah, I'm glad you called that out. Bloxer, not as big of a fight win for OMG as you would have liked, and more members of LNG retaining Baron than originally thought here. Start taking a look at just how the sheer difference in items here by this point. I mean, Azanya's is done for Haichao. I mean, he's nearly 2.5k gold up, and
he's got the most defensive build I've ever seen.
This guy's not dying, and OMG is not getting in this Drake pit at all. They are, I mean, they're going to try and brute force their way in, but
they only get in right here if LNG allow them to, right? They cannot step up if LNG decide to just go flying in.
Okay, so we got Haichao on the backside. Zhuo was disguised as a ward. He's only going to end up catching Hery. Fate's Call pulls him back out. Great call from LP. But look at Haichao on the backside just dishing out the damage, mashing his keyboard. Every single spell he can throw down, he's throwing right to the grill of OMG. Stasis be damned. Ace comes home. LNG are going to knock OMG down to 0-3 and maybe end their season with an emphatic 2-0.
Yeah, this going to 0-3 right here for OMG in Group Nirvana spells disaster for this team. They were desperately trying to avoid this fate, but right now, looks like they are going to be one of our teams not participating in split number 3. One of the worst punishments you could possibly imagine. One of the only tier 1 teams not going to be allowed to play split 3. A couple of members are going to respawn. Moham could try his best right here. Charlotte up in 8 seconds. There's a chance. It should just be game, though.
Yeah, I mean, they got Hery in 2. Charlotte, Starry, they're all going to come up. You got to just hit the Nexus here, LNG, to bring this one home, and Zika's going to do it. There it is. LNG's redemption in Group Nirvana now realized. with back-to-back 2-0s.
Oh boy, that was nice to see. Actually, Haichao won that one, and I don't know if you saw, but just leapt up out of the seat. Was genuinely ecstatic to have won that series.
Love it.
And you can tell why. LNG are looking better. Again, I still don't think I can go so far as to say this team looks good. But this is the start that we needed to see from them, right? They had a terrible split 1, a terrible split 2 placements, but now, here in this group Nirvana, feels like they've been able to change things around. The swap in the jungle obviously has had a big impact on that.
Huge. I mean, Zhao Feng, I know he hasn't brought every player of the game home, and he doesn't need it every game, but the impact is there. And it just, you can feel how juiced LNG are now looking for some of these plays. He's just so bashful on the Skarner we showed from the Ultra Prime series, this Vi series, even the Nefiri. He is not afraid. You know, the classic saying, playing with, you know, usernames off, playing with screen names off, just playing some League of Legends. And when you're confident as a jungler, this is what you can do to a team that's been struggling for so long.
Exactly, and this now puts you in such a better spot right here as LNG. I would have bet real money on them being the team that ended up not playing in our split number 3 before they'd made these changes. With the changes, I was so suspicious, I have to say, you know, I was not sure that they were going to be able to turn it around, but at least at this point, it's been looking so much better, and it's not just the way that Zhao Feng's changed the team in and of himself, but it feels like the entire team is playing better together. You have to imagine that he's being a big part of the calls that they're getting, a big part of the team fight decision making, because it has just improved so much. And let's see what the damage is going to look like in this game, because Zika had a very quiet early game and then just exploded onto the rift here. Yeah,
and Haichao was very ahead at a lot of the points of this game. Was a pretty accelerated rise, so we'll have to see what the damage shares look like. And you know, this was a kind of ragtag draft put together, not the like as clean cohesion as you expect. Like, you know, I don't normally see like Rise fitting in with, you know, a Kalista Nico bottom lane, a Vi, you had the poke of the Jace that fits in different pieces. That's what makes this win. It's weird, but it worked. That's what's important, right?
I don't think that LNG's drafts are particularly overall the best that we've seen. In the previous game, I did feel a little bit like OMG had a better draft. In this game, again, OMG's was kind of weird too, and LNG didn't really play around their composition in the early game. They didn't make the most of the Kalista or the Vi early on, but they got themselves to the point where all of a sudden you had the Ryze and the Jace come online, and that was going to be enough damage for you there. Got to be honest, LP, I think his biggest contribution to this game was the fact that you have the Rend to be able to pick yourself up all of these objectives. Being able to secure the Baron, secure those Drakes, that was huge in the outcome of this game. The Atakan as well, all of those big objective plays where you just have that extra level of security. You're not worried about Heng being able to get involved and steal something away. You can see it right here. Yeah, Zika did just ridiculous amount of damage. Yeah, that is what I was expecting from this one. He was playing in melee range the majority of the time in those team fights. I love the confidence, especially once you had those revives from the Atakan. Why not?
Yeah, that is 37% damage share in one game.
Yikes.
Yeah, that might be much to get an award here for Zika, but I'm glad you gave credit to LP. I also, back to like the how succinct LNG look in the fights and calm chaining combos together. We're going to see them in a couple of these replays after kind of the rocky early game, but you know, Zhuo, when he played that bodyguard style, every time he did that, he actually ends up living because LP was there at the right time with those Fates call. And these are the small things right there. You see, he gets Zhuo out with ease. He does that all game long. This is the succinctness. I don't even know if that's a word. LNG's been lacking in some of these other series. And it's good to see from two guys here, Bloxer, that are not new additions to the roster. No. These guys have been playing with them all year long.
Exactly. If it was just going to be that you're looking much better through Zhao Feng in the jungle, but everybody else is kind of playing at that same level they were previously, maybe you win a couple of these games. Maybe you can beat a team like OMG, but it still is going to be pretty rough. But it feels like everybody has been elevated by this change. They're all playing with a newfound confidence. I saw smiles on the faces of LNG players today. I don't think I've seen that all year long at this point. But why not be smiling right now? Because at this point, as we highlighted previously, you've kind of done it, right? You pick up the win right here versus OMG. Your next matchup is going to be up against RNG.
Yes.
You win that, you're sitting pretty. You're fine. You're not going to end up being one of those teams that don't play in our next split.
Yeah, that's the big thing. I'm glad you pointed that out because LNG are in the unique position where they can force 2 different teams in Group Nirvana down to 0-3. That virtually knocks both those teams out of Split 3. I mean, Ultra Prime are currently sitting 1-1. They've got a lot more games to play. And I believe they do have to play, well, they do still have to play. I mean, right now, their last 2 opponents, they're going to play OMG.
Yeah.
But they have to play EDG and LGD. So basically, if Ultra Prime can win the OMG series, RNG and OMG are locked into no Split 3. So this is getting dire very quick, and that's the nature of single round robin for Group Nirvana compared to Group Ascent.
Oh yeah, and the other thing is that you only play the first 6 weeks of this split as well. Week 7 and 8 only contain those Group Ascend teams. You're done. You are done on the 11th of May.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree right here with this pickup. The bodyguarding that we got to see was really impressive. Yeah, you're not necessarily getting tons of damage off with these Pop Blossoms, but you're just buying so much space and time for the rest of the team to be able to turn this one around. I was very impressed with the way he was able to play this one.
All right, so shout out to Zhuo. He grabs his first 2 MVPs as player of the games of the Split 2 so far in back-to-back games. So LNG looking good. Zhuo stamping himself as player of the series in this one. Zhao Feng's new addition has worked wonders for LNG. They have gone from the O2 hole to cresting the canyon that is Group Nirvana here. But that's going to wrap up our Group Nirvana coverage for today. It's time to get to the big meat and potatoes of today's broadcast.